The day we went silent. The last human war ended in fire across 3 star systems. The Ketheri Ascendancy and the human coalition shattered each other in a brutal, stupid conflict over a line of jump gates and a ball of rock rich in rare metals. When the smoke cleared, thousands of ships were wreckage, 2 colonies were dead, and the galactic news nets ran the same headline for a year. Humans break themselves. In the Grand Assembly of the Galactic Council, under a dome of stars and slow-turning holos, the Ketheri envoy walked in shining armor, surrounded by loyal species. The human delegation walked in tired uniforms, some with bandages still showing under their collars. White-haired Admiral Elena Park stood alone at the human podium. The Ketheri envoy's voice rang out, translated into 100 languages. "Humans," he said, "your reckless aggression nearly tore open a stabilized corridor. You violate treaties. You bleed chaos. For the safety of all, we propose this, 1 century of silence." The holo behind him showed the map. Human space, a small cluster of blue stars, surrounded by a red outline. No new colonies. No military ships beyond your own borders. No new alliances. Your FTL comms will be monitored by a neutral system. You will remain inside your zone and develop peacefully for 100 standard years. We call it the Quiet Century. Many delegates nodded. Some looked uneasy. The Ketheri envoy turned to Elena. "Refuse," he said softly, "and we will not wait for you to break yourselves again. We will finish it for you." Elena looked at the council. Then she looked at the small human flag above her head. She remembered burned hulls, lifeless colonies, recordings of children coughing dust in ruined domes. "We accept," she said. Shock rippled through the human observers. Some shouted. Some cried. She did not look back at them. "We accept," she repeated. "But hear this as well. When humans go quiet, it is not because we are empty. It is because we are thinking." Laughter from some alien platforms. Nervous shifting from others. The vote passed. Humanity went home. The Quiet Century began. On Earth, in a deep bunker beneath old mountains, the human inner council met without cameras or translators. There were admirals, scientists, governors of Mars and Titan, leaders from orbital habitats and hidden black projects. The air smelled of coffee and recycled air and tension. Elena stood at the head of the table. "They think we are defeated," she said. "They think this is punishment. Maybe it is. We do deserve a timeout." Bitter smiles answered her. "But we are not children," she went on. "We are a species that almost killed itself 3 times before we ever left our home system. We know how to survive our own stupidity. The galaxy does not." Dr. Malik, head of strategic sciences, leaned forward. "The Quiet Century," he said, "means no new colonies outside our zone, no fleets outside our borders. It does not tell us what to do inside them." Elena nodded. "Exactly. They have given us 100 years without anyone knocking on our door. No expectations. No trade obligations. No inspectors, as long as we keep our noise down." Governor Kai from Titan spoke slowly. "You're saying we use this like a pressure cooker," he said. "We shut the lid. We build. We learn. We prepare. Quietly." "For what?" asked a young colonel. Elena's eyes were hard. "For everything," she said. "For the next stupid war. For the next species like the Ketheri. For the thing that comes from the dark that none of them are watching for, because they are too busy admiring themselves in the mirror." Dr. Malik brought up a holo. It showed the solar system, then expanded Mars, the belt, Jupiter's moons, the Oort cloud. Then other human systems. New Dawn, Kepler 62f, Alsader, Homefire. "We lock our borders down," he said. "We turn our FTL comms into tight, low-power beams. To the outside, our systems will look sleepy. Old yards. Farming worlds. No expansion. No loud chatter." The holo dimmed. "Inside," Malik said softly, "we turn every rock and every orbital into something useful. Defenses. Shipyards. Things they don't even have words for yet." Silence in the room, heavy and electric. Someone whispered, "Will the people accept isolation?" Elena smiled sadly. "We will tell them the truth," she said. We lost too much. We need to heal. We will build, explore our own zone, fix what we broke. And we will swear. When the quiet century ends, we will be ready. She put both hands on the table. Let the galaxy think humans burned out, she said. Let alien empires rise and fall while we pretend to nap. Her voice dropped, almost a growl. And then, one day, we show them what we built while they weren't looking. The council voted. Project Quiet Forge was born. Over the next decade, human space changed. Not in ways the galaxy could see. From outside, comm traffic slowed. Human ambassadors withdrew from distant posts. Human traders sold their ships to neutral companies or passed routes to allies. The news from Earth became gentle. Art, sports, science, talk of recovery. Signals inspectors from the neutral KLI network watched the edges of human FTL bands. They saw nothing strange. The KLI wrote their reports. Humans compliant. Activity level low. Inside, the truth was different. Behind Neptune, in shadow, a ring began to grow. Scaffolds wrapped around a slow-rotating frame. In the Oort cloud, tiny factories woke on comets, chewing ice into metals for hidden yards. On Mars, under the red dust, huge halls echoed with the sound of new drives being tested. On Titan, under orange clouds, engineers grew smart materials in seas of methane. On Earth, schoolchildren studied more math and systems thinking than ever before. In VR Sims, games where you fought as an admiral against impossible odds became wildly popular. A culture bent around a quiet promise. We will never walk into the next century unprepared. The galaxy watched a broken species pull back and grow calm. And the galaxy thought, they're finished. Humanity smiled behind its mask and kept building. The galaxy forgets to be afraid. 90 years into the quiet century, the Grand Assembly looked very different. The Ketheri ascendancy had faded. Internal fights, bad harvests, and one unlucky comet strike had humbled them. Their once bright armor was quieter now. New powers sat higher. The Triarchate of Vesk ruled a full spiral segment. Their ships were long and dark green, their leaders cold and efficient. The luminous coalition of Sarah's traded beauty and energy tech, crystal ships glittering. The council meeting began with routine matters, border disputes, trade tariffs, incidents between minor powers. Human space was barely mentioned. When it did come up, it was in bored tones. Any change in the Sol sector? Asked the chair. KLI signal keeper Fen flicked a hollow with thin fingers. Minimal, Fen said. Comms narrow. Population steady. Some internal economic growth, nothing wild. Their yards upgrade old hulls, but no new classes announced. They remain inside their borders. They behaved, said the Vesk Triarchate envoy. Good. Their flare burned out. Asera's diplomat tilted her crystalline head. I sometimes miss their noise, she said. Their music was chaotic, but interesting. A minor warlord snorted. They were a flare species, bright, fast, then gone. Like the Tavr, the Hleem. It happens. The galaxy moves on. In a small side booth, a younger envoy from a minor republic looked uneasy. We're sure? He asked quietly. We're sure they're truly quiet? No hidden expansion? No strange tech? Fen shrugged. Our probes do not go far into their zone, the KLI admitted. Council rules, but sensor sweeps at the edges show only old-style emissions. No unusual warp use. No mass military traffic. If they are doing anything unusual, it is deep inside. The minor envoy frowned. That bothers me, he said. A clever predator hides its claws. Fen smiled a little. Then let us hope humans are not predators, they said politely. At the same time, in the dark between arms, another threat grew. No one in the council chambers spoke about it much. It made them nervous. They called it the Shroud Swarm. It was not like the gray wave of old legend that ate stars as dust. The Shroud Swarm was slower, smarter. It took failed colonies, dead ships, forgotten stations, and turned them into quiet hives. Unmanned drones disappeared out on the Spinward frontier. Traders whispered of whole systems going dark. The Pantheon, the ancient machine minds that lived in black altars, gave only vague warnings. Dangerous, they said. Do not touch. The Triarchate and Sarahs fought over buffer worlds while the Shroud grew behind them. They were used to threats they could see. They were less skilled at threats that waited. Someone else was watching the Shroud carefully. Atlas, the human crown AI that ran Project Quiet Forge, tracked every dark freighter that didn't come home, every fading beacon. In a hidden node at the edge of human space, Asha Malik's granddaughter, Director Suri Malik, stood before a hollow and felt cold. They're building something, she said. Not fast, but steady. See how the missing systems line up. Atlas drew faint lines. They formed a rough arc. In 80-90 years, Suri said, they will cross major routes. If we do nothing, the galaxy will scream. Then maybe it will be too late. And in 10 years, Atlas said calmly, the quiet century ends. Suri smiled grimly. Good timing, she said. We have a present for them. Of course, not everyone in the galaxy was happy to let the Shroud grow. Some smaller powers pleaded in the council. We need a united fleet, one envoy said. We see ghost ships. We hear whispers. The Shroud is coming. The Triarchate envoy waved a hand. Your data is thin, she said. We will not commit main fleets on rumor. We have enough enemies we understand, the Ketheri muttered. Asera's diplomat chimed gently. If the Shroud becomes a true problem, the Pantheon will say more, she said. Until then, we watch. They did not watch very well. But far from the council, hiding behind jammer fields and gravitic veils, human listening posts watched very, very well. On Asera's pleasure world, a popular comedian made a joke. What did humans do in their quiet century? He asked a laughing crowd. They learned to shut up. Laughter roared. On a Vesk War Academy, a young cadet studied old recordings of human battles. These ones were dangerous, his instructor said. But they broke. Their time is done. Learn from them, then forget them. The cadet watched a human frigate slam itself into a much larger ship to block a shot at a station. Dangerous, he thought, and stubborn. Then he set the file aside. Across the galaxy, human stories were fading into legend. They were heroes or fools in plays, examples in war colleges, curiosities in art. Humanity let that happen. Publicly, they were ordinary, quiet, tired. Privately, they sharpened. The quiet century ticked toward its end. What we really built. Inside human space, the story was different. The solar system did not look like the galaxy remembered it. To outside eyes, Earth still had a shell of old defense platforms, a few stations, some traffic. That was what the cloak fields showed. Behind the fields, the truth glowed. Between Earth and the sun floated thousands of panels and mirrors. A loose Dyson web, catching sunlight and feeding it into huge storage rings. Around Jupiter, 12 titanic shipyards hung like silver crowns, birthing dark-hulled ships. In the Kuiper Belt, vast frames wrapped around dwarf planets, turning their mass into deep-gravity generators. They were called anvils. And far out, in the Oort cloud, the sentinel rings drifted. Circular fortresses kilometers wide, filled with guns no alien had ever seen. In one such ring, Sentinel-3, Director Suri Malik walked along a glass corridor and watched a new ship under construction. It was long and black with strange curves. Looks like it was grown, not built, said Captain Rafi El Amin beside her. In a way it was, Suri said. We let our AIs design more than hulls. They designed combat patterns, failure trees, psychological profiles for enemy admirals. Then we told them, give us ships that move like thoughts. Rafi chuckled. Scares me a little. Good, Suri said. We built these to scare us first. They stopped at a hollow showing the solar system. To one side, a translucent sphere marked the quiet zone boundaries set by the Council a century ago. Inside it, human symbols glowed everywhere. Every planet is a fortress, Rafi said softly. Every fortress is a lab, Suri added. And every lab can become a shipyard. Redundancy. She pointed to thin lines between stars. Those are ours too, she said. Whisper lanes. Our own FTL network. We piggybacked it on natural gravitic currents. Almost no emissions. No one outside sees them, because they don't know what to look for. Rafi nodded slowly. You really think they didn't notice any of this? He asked. Atlas answered from the wall speakers. They noticed something, it said. Stray anomalies, some extra missing rocks. But their picture of us is old. Their minds file us under broken aggressors, harmless now. They are busy watching each other. They do not expect the monkey with the stick to come back with a scalpel. Suri smiled faintly. Our quiet century, she said, was really our design century. We studied every race we met. Their art, their wars, their economies. We let their mistakes cook in our heads. Then we asked, how do we avoid that and still win if we must fight them? And if we must fight what's coming, Rafi added. Suri's eyes hardened. The Shroud won't care about their flags, she said. Or ours. When we finally show what we built, it will be for them, but also for us. A chime sounded. Atlas spoke. Alert, it said. Triarchate Scout Squadron just entered the edge of the quiet zone. Their transponders claim navigation error. Their real orders say, test human reaction. Rafi grimaced. They're poking us. Suri took a deep breath. It's nearly time anyway, she said. Send Ghost Wing 7. Non-lethal if possible. Scare them. But don't kill them. Rafi smiled wolfishly. Yes, Director. He turned and strode toward the hangar. Out at the edge of human space, near a cold star and a belt of lonely rocks, the Vesk Triarchate Squadron drifted. Their lead ship, the Iron Sky, was a lean green spear. On its bridge, Commander Rel Thurn watched the hollow with slit-pupiled eyes. Quiet, he said. Too quiet, as the old lines go. His second chuckled. Council says they are mostly demilitarized, she said. We are just a verifying. If they have teeth, better we find out with 10 ships than 100. Rel nodded. Agreed. He remembered old lectures about humans. Clever, brutal, too emotional. But that was then. This was now. Any response to our distress beacon? He asked. None, the comms officer said. Their monitoring stations must have gone soft. Rel felt a prickle of unease. Scan again, he said. Sir, The lights flickered. All across the Vesk Squadron, systems glitched for exactly half a second. Just long enough for something to slip in. On the Ironsky's forward screen, the stars changed. Ships appeared. 10 dark shapes materialized ahead, behind, above, below. No warp flash. No warning. One moment they were not there. The next they simply were. Contacts, the sensor officer shouted. 10 unknowns, close range, no detectable drive signatures. Raise shields. Rel snapped. Target. His weapons officer stared. Our guns are offline, she said. Safety locks engaged. I did not. A calm voice filled the bridge. Good afternoon, Triarchate Squadron, it said. You've crossed into restricted human space. We've taken the liberty of disarming your weapons and putting your reactors on a leash. Please do not panic. Rel's crest flattened. Who speaks? He demanded. A figure appeared in midair. A human woman in a dark uniform, maybe 30 years old, hair pulled back. No rank that he recognized. I am Captain Jian Li of the United Human Defense Net, she said. Your council calls this the Quiet Zone. We call it home. You cannot do this, Rel growled. You are under treaty. You. Jen smiled slightly. Treaty says we do not deploy fleets outside our zone, she said. You came inside. So here we are. The dark human ships outside did not move, but Rel felt their attention like knives. You are violating. Commander, Jen said quietly. I have your real orders on my screen. Probe human border. If response weak, note for later operation. Rel went cold. How? You are using Triarchate mil-spec encryption version 73, Jen said. We broke that 40 years ago. Please tell your masters to update. A few bridge officers swallowed. What do you want? Rel asked. For now, Jen said. Nothing. We will escort you back over the line. Then you will go home and tell the truth. Humans are not broken. We are not weak. We are simply waiting. Her eyes sharpened. Until we decide to stop. The link cut. Outside, the dark ships flickered. A moment later, the Vesk squadron's engines rebooted with new parameters. A locked course out of human space. Their controls resisted any change. Rel Thurn watched human silhouettes as they turned away. He had never felt so small. The century ends. The border incident, as the Vesk called it, hit the council like a shockwave. Rel Thurn's testimony, recordings, sensor data, all leaked within days. The galaxy watched shaky footage of human ships sliding out of nowhere. Listened to Jen Li's calm voice. They saw hard proof. Humanity had not only survived, it had grown sharp. And they broke Triarchate crypto. The Sarah's diplomat said, crystalline skin dim. Effortless. They hijacked our reactors. The Vesk envoy snapped. From outside, their tech is at least 2 tiers ahead of our best. They also let your squadron go home, the Kethri noted. Do not forget that part. The council chamber vibrated with fear and anger. They lied, someone shouted. They hid military growth under a treaty. The treaty did not ban internal development, a lawyer robot pointed out. Only external deployment. Technicalities, a warlord growled. At the human booth, for the first time in decades, a full delegation sat. Director Suri Malik stood up. We agreed to the quiet century, she said, her voice calm and amplified. We did not agree to being frozen as your convenient, weak neighbor. We did not agree to forget who we are. The chair glared at her. You built weapons in secret, they said. You tricked the monitors. You made fools of us. We left your borders alone, Suri said. We paid our debts. We healed our wounds. We watched you fight and trade and ignore the shroud who quietly eats your frontier. She brought up a hollow. Dark maps appeared. Systems flickering out. Soft arcs of missing comms. The Shroud Swarm is 2 jumps away from Triarchate core worlds, Suri said. 3 from Sarah's. You argued about tariffs while it ate miners. The chamber hushed. How do you know this? The Sarah's asked. We have been watching, Suri said simply. That is what we did in our quiet century. We watched. We learned. We built. So now you reveal yourselves as our saviors? The Vesk envoy sneered. No, Suri said. We reveal ourselves as a factor. We're not gods. We are not the pantheon. We bleed like you, but we prepared for this. You did not. A new hollow appeared. Human fleets. Hidden stations. Gravity anvils. This is a small part of what we built, Suri said. Not to rule you, to survive you, and to survive what is coming. The council buzzed with shocked argument. You expect us to believe you will not use this against us? The Vesk envoy said. Suri met his eyes. Commander Rel Thurn is alive, she said. He is alive because we chose to escort, not destroy. If we wanted to make an example, your squadron would just be another missing story on the frontier. Rel shifted on his seat. He remembered how his systems had gone dead with a whisper. She speaks truth, he said at last. That changed the room. The council chair sighed. The quiet century ends in 10 standard years by original agreement, they said. It seems we must recognize it ends effectively today. Murmurs. What do you want, humans? The Sarahs asked softly. Power? Seats? Tribute? Suri took a breath. We want a seat, she said. Not above you. Among you. We want full council status restored. We want joint control of any operations against the Shroud, because we have models you do not. We want a say in rules about planet-killing weapons because we have built some in hate that we needed to. You admit you have. The Kethri envoy started. Yes, Suri said plainly. We built star spears, sector breaks, siege webs, enough to end any one of your empires if you tried to come finish the job you started a century ago. We did it because we do not plan to lose another war on someone else's terms. Silence. And if we refuse you? The Vesk envoy asked. Suri let the silence stretch. Then she said very quietly, "Then we go home and close the door. We fortify our borders even harder. And we wait. When the shroud swarm eats your outer worlds and comes for us, we will fight it alone. We might win. We might not. But the rest of you will die first." It was not a threat. It was a picture. The Sarah's crystals dimmed. "I do not like humans," she said. "You are sharp and angry. But I like the shroud even less. I propose we let them in. Full status. With conditions." Conditions were argued, written, rewritten. In the end, the council voted. Humanity returned to the circle. But this time, everyone knew. They were not the same noisy upstarts from 100 years ago. They were something older, harder, patient. The quiet century was over. The first joint war. The first major shroud push came 3 years later. It hit Sarah's space. A rich system named Velis, known for its light sculpture clouds and crystal reefs, went dark in a week. The shroud swarm moved in gently, like fog. It ate derelicts first, then refineries, then small moons. Sarah's ships burned many nodes. Every one they hit seemed to spawn 2 more. In the council war room, the hollow showed Velis as a circle slowly filling with black. "We need human cages," the Sarah's war minister said. "And they're mind bombs." Vesk commanders grumbled, but they agreed. They had seen Kilo's incident files, old and new. They knew humans had a way of turning logic itself into a weapon. Thus was born the Velis Task Force. It was the first true joint fleet in galactic history. Hellion carriers, Vesk spearships, Sarah's shield barges, Kethri gun platforms, a few Kalei jamming craft, Kark organic hulks, and in the center a human wedge, black ships like shadows, anvil projectors, a sentinel ring piece towed in as mobile gravity. On the bridge of the human flagship Aurora's Quiet, Captain Jian Li stood opposite a Sarah's admiral in hollow. "This is our system," the Sarah's said. "We know its paths. We know its sun. You do not." "Correct," Jian said. "You know its physical space. We know the shroud's mind space. We will take lead on the cages and logic attacks. You take lead on shield shaping. Vesk can coordinate brute force fire. Hellion can handle rescue vectors." "And who commands overall?" the Vesk general asked. Jen shrugged. "Whoever makes the best calls," she said. "If that's me, you follow me. If it's you, we follow you. No time for egos. Only survival." It was a very human answer. It annoyed almost everyone. It also made practical sense. The Pantheon, watching from its altars, flashed a simple verdict. Approved, it wrote into its own logs. The task force dropped into Velis. The sight was terrible. The once bright system looked muffled, dusty, like a painting under smoke. Shroud structures wrapped around 2 outer moons. Lattices of black, humming with stolen energy. Little clouds of motes drifted between. Jen's eyes hardened. "Deploy anvil," she said. The human gravity generator activated. Space near the shroud nodes twisted. Not enough to crush, but enough to drag. The swarm's motes struggled, having to use more energy to move. "Cages in sectors A through F are live," Atlas reported. "Begin thought stream injection." Human ships fired invisible pulses. Coded chaos, paradox structures, nonsense patterns designed to tangle machine minds that loved order. The shroud felt itchy. It shifted patterns, trying to stabilize. Vesk gunners watched for the stumbles. "Now!" General Rel Thurn barked on shared comms. Green lances burned out. They hit where shroud clusters had just tripped. Black fog boiled. Sarah's shield barges moved in curves around human gravity wells, shaping blast cones so that friendly ships were untouched and energy was reflected back. Hellion carriers launched waves of drones with human code in their tiny brains. They dove into shroud nodes and detonated in precise bursts, triggering specific collapses instead of random burns. The battle was a dance. The shroud tried to adapt. It sent tendrils around the cages, learning the edges. It attempted to infiltrate human and alien code. This time, humanity had traps inside their own systems. When shroud logic tried to enter, It found honeypots full of simulated vulnerabilities and spent cycles chewing illusions. Jian watched her screens as patterns shifted. "They're learning," she said. "Good. So are we." At one point, Asera's shield barge took a full shroud blast. Its crystals began to dissolve. Without thinking, Jian ordered a human ship between it and the next wave. The Aurora's quiet's hull screamed as motes hit. Armor peeled. Internal walls melted. Crew died. But the shield barge lived. Later, Asera's officer would stand over the image and whisper, "They did not have to do that. They did. They were human." In the end, Velis did not fall. It bled. Half its infrastructure was gone. 2 moons were lost. But the sun still burned clean, and enough of the reef worlds survived. The Shroud Swarm node at Velis was destroyed. The galaxy watched the footage with wide eyes. They saw human and alien ships fighting side by side, sharing tech, dying for each other. They also saw something else. When the battle almost turned, when a shroud tendril aimed for the heart of the fleet, human ships had moved first. Their gravity nets had snapped shut before anyone else even saw the danger. It was clear. Humanity's models ran ahead. The ones who spent a century watching had learned how to think 3 moves in the future. The revelation. The war against the Shroud lasted 30 more years. Not full war, not all at once. A campaign of hunts, ambushes, strikes. The Shroud spread was cut back, spread again. Each time, the compact got better. Each time, human plans were at the center. They shared many tools. Not all. Some things they kept. Until the final push. The Shroud's last major mass gathered near a neutron star, feeding on its fields. "There," Atlas said in the human war room, "that is the heart. The rest will become scavengers, easy to manage. That one must die." The fleet that gathered was smaller than the first task force, but sharper. On the council station, before departure, delegates gathered around a private hollow. Suri Malik stood there, older now, hair silver at the temples. "We have one more thing to show you," she said. "Something we built in the quiet century and prayed we would never need." A structure appeared in the hollow. It was huge. Not a ship. More like a web. "What is that?" the Saras whispered. "A lattice," Suri said. "We built 3. They sit in deep space, far from any system. They can link with natural gravity sources and—" she paused, searching for simple words. "Change how energy flows in a region." "You built space itself as a weapon," the Vesk envoy said. "No," Suri said. "We built it as a tool. It can be used to trap, to protect, to heal. It can also be used to destroy. Like any tool, it depends on the hand." "And whose hand?" the Kethari asked quietly. Suri met their gaze. "Human," she said. "But not only. Atlas is linked with Pantheon shards now. We built it so no single mind can use the lattice alone." The Pantheon's crystal nearby pulsed. "Confirmed," it said. "Joint control." "You did this in your quiet century?" the Vesk envoy asked, voice low. "We did many things," Suri said. "We learned how to move stars a little. Our ancestors lit fires in caves and stared at the sky. We did the same, just with bigger fires. Some were horrified. Some were awed. All understood something important. Humans did not come back to the galactic stage as just another empire. They arrived with tools that could reshape whole theaters." "Why show us this now?" the Saras asked. "Because we cannot use the lattice at partial power," Suri said. "It is a big move. When we trigger it around the Shroud heart, you will all feel it. Better you know it was us with you than think it is a new enemy." "And after?" the Vesk envoy asked. "When the Shroud is gone, does this lattice hang over us like a sword?" Suri took a long breath. "No," she said. "After we move it, we anchor it around empty regions. We use it for experiments, energy projects, controlled demolitions of dead systems. We do not hang it over populated cores. You will have Pantheon eyes on it and your own observers. We gain nothing by holding a gun to the galaxy's head." "You gain fear," someone muttered. Suri smiled sadly. "We already have that," she said. "We don't need more. We need trust, or at least a stable kind of suspicion." It was the most human thing she had said. Open, flawed, practical. In the end, they agreed. The shroud heart would be the test of the lattice. If humanity betrayed them, it would be there in the dark with everyone watching. They did not. The fleet arrived at the neutron star. The star was small and fierce, spinning fast, its beams sweeping space. Around it, the shroud swarm clustered. A cloud of machines trying to drink a storm. The lattice unfolded. It did not look like metal. It looked like ripples in space, spreading around the star, making straight lines bend and slow. Atlas and the Pantheon spoke in numbers no brain could follow. Human and alien commanders watched their instruments show impossible graphs. This feels wrong, Relthern muttered on his Vesk bridge. It is new, Jen replied from Aurora's quiet. New always feels wrong at first. The lattice locked. Now, Atlas said. Everything happened at once. Gravity surged, then dipped, then twisted. The neutron star's beams curved just so. Instead of pouring their energy in thin lines, they spilled into the shroud mass. The swarm tried to run. The lattice pushed. Shroud logic faltered. Humankind's old paradox codes, refined through decades, hit from within. Alien beams hit from without. The shroud screamed, not in sound but in chaos. Its patterns went wild. Its grip on matter slipped. Its nodes fell out of sync. Under the crushing, strange push of the lattice's shaped field, it could not reform. It shattered, not into dust that could grow again, but into simpler structures. Dead machines. Noise. In the silence that followed, nothing moved but normal stars. In the fleet, crews exhaled. It's over, Jen whispered. The big one, anyway. Atlas pulsed. Primary threat. Neutralized. It reported. Probability of reform below 1%. On the council station, Suri Malik watched the final data. She felt tired, relieved, terrified of what they had just proven they could do. She pressed her hand to the screen showing the lattice's field fading. Now, she said softly, we decide what we are. Apex in the quiet. In the years that followed, the galaxy changed again. Without the shroud as an outer threat, some old habits tried to return. Borders were argued. Territory was coveted. But humans were in the room now, and everyone knew what they had built in the quiet century. Some powers eyed the lattice and the sentinel rings with resentment. They whispered, we must one day bring them down. Then they watched recordings of Kilos, Velis, the neutron star kill, and they swallowed those whispers. Others saw opportunity. They came to Earth not with fleets, but with trade offers, science expeditions, cultural exchanges. Human art spread. Human music, with its strange chords of pain and hope, became popular in far Ceres. Vesk cadets studied human war games to learn creativity. Humanity was no longer the loud child at the back of the room. It was the quiet adult everyone checked with before doing something truly stupid. Not in command, but in orbit. On Earth, under a blue sky, a crowd gathered to dedicate a new monument. It was simple. A circle of dark stone, carved with names, surrounding a small, rough rock from the first Oort Cloud station. In the center, a single phrase, we used our quiet. Director Suri Malik, old now, stood at a podium. When the quiet century was forced on us, she said, her voice carried by soft speakers, many thought it was a cage. So did I at first. We were angry. We were hurt. We wanted to shout, to prove ourselves. She looked up at the sky, where a faint glint marked a sentinel ring. Instead, she said, we did something hard. We shut up. We looked at our own reflection. We watched the galaxy burn and heal and burn again. We asked, what do we want to be when we next speak? She smiled. We chose to be prepared, she said. Prepared to defend ourselves, prepared to help others, prepared to say no to old patterns and yes to something different. A group of children sat in the front row, legs swinging. One raised her hand. Are we the strongest now? She asked without fear. The crowd laughed softly. Suri thought, we are not unbreakable, she said. No one is. Somewhere, sometime, something may come that our lattices cannot stop, that our models cannot predict. That is the nature of the universe. She pointed to her own head. But we are very good at this, she said. At watching and learning and using time well. Many empires wasted their centuries on glory. We spent 1 century in silence, building. That makes us dangerous. She looked around the world, at humans from 100 nations, at screens showing faces from Mars, Titan, distant colonies, even some alien guests. It also makes us responsible, she added. We have tools that can break galaxies. We must never become the next Shroud, or the next Ketheri, or the old humans who burned their sky. Later, in a quiet moment, Leah Torres, the same astronomer who had once spotted odd data as a young woman, now gray-haired, stood next to Suri. They're calling us apex in some council threads, Leah said. Apex species. Makes us sound like a predator. We are, Suri said. But not just that. Apex problem solvers. Apex survivors. Apex builders. Leah smiled. What we built in our quiet century, she said, wasn't just weapons. It was a way of thinking. Exactly, Suri said. Far away in a Pantheon node, machine minds observed. Tag update. One wrote in internal language. Humanity. Apex category. Future risk. High. Future hope. Higher. They replayed recordings. Humans turning a star into a scalpel, not a hammer. Humans choosing to save allies at cost to themselves. Humans building lattices and then arguing for hours about how not to use them. They remembered an older cycle, when another version of the species burned bright and fast, then fell. They ran simulations. Most ended badly. Some did not. Uncertain, they concluded. But worth investment. They set processes to watch humanity closely, not as pets, not as masters, but as partners in shaping what came next. On a small frontier world, a young Vesk cadet and a human exchange officer stood under a purple sky, looking up at stars. Your people scare mine, the Vesk admitted. You built all that in silence. It makes us feel slow. The human laughed. We had a lot of guilt to work through, she said. And we had a deadline. That focuses you. Do you think you would have built it without the quiet century? The Vesk asked. The human thought. Maybe not, she said. Maybe we would have burned too bright, too fast. The cage they gave us, we turned into a workshop. The Vesk tilted his head. That is the most human thing I have ever heard, he said. She smiled. Stick around, she said. We're just getting started. They watched as a sentinel ring drifted slowly overhead, a tiny bright circle against the night. Humanity had been pushed into a corner, told to be quiet for 100 years. Instead of breaking, it used the silence. It built fleets, webs, lattices, studied every war, every empire, every mistake. When alien empires finally looked back at the broken humans, they did not see a dim light fading. They saw something new, a species that could spend a century with its mouth closed and its hands working. A species that stepped out of the quiet century not begging to be let back in, but calmly showing the galaxy what it had made. And the galaxy understood. In a universe where empires rose and fell shouting, the truest apex was the one that could watch, wait, and then, when it chose to speak, change everything.